Welcome to another episode of the My New Normal podcast. I am here with B-Mac, Brian Mackenzie. It is an honor to be here with you, Brian. I want to go into a little bit of how we got introduced, but we're here in freaking San Diego, Partyville, actually.
The epicenter of partying in San Diego, Pacific Beach.
Yes, he is a super mellow dude, although he did party in his younger years, but he's still very young. But he did party, and now he's staying in Partyville. So we'll talk about your sleep later.
Yes.
And how quality it is.
Yes.
We both have our own, I have my own sleep issues with a toddler. First though, I want to go into how I met Brian. So after I went through my honeymoon, enjoyed my honeymoon. This was like 6 years ago. Yes, I've been married for 6 years. My husband and I decided that screw regular physical therapy. I'm starting my own business. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what better person to hang out with who does his own PT practice with Kelly Starrett? And I went up and immersed myself at San Francisco CrossFit for like a week and a half. Mm-hmm. And that's when I met you the first time. And I'd heard about you numerous times before that, but actually meeting you in person, I remember going to lunch, talking about just work life. Honestly, for me as a young new PT, I was very overwhelmed, but also very inspired by what both you and Kelly were doing. And so I left there and kind of got to follow your work just from on the internet. And I don't actually I'm not on social media a ton or stalk the internet, but I like following what you do and what you teach. And you've only heard good things because I'm also involved in the CrossFit community and met you again at our colleague who passed away, who used to teach for you, Mark Homan. So Mark Homan was a patient of mine and passed away tragically shortly after my father had. Met you at his funeral again and reconnected. And then this last year started seeing more of your posts, and what I really like about what you put out there is you're very real and relatable, which I appreciate. As someone I have a hard time going on social media and following certain people. I don't follow that many.
I get it.
So you're a very relatable human, and this last year you had a serious injury that changed your life, and in this podcast, actually we're going to dive into it, but since then, reading your posts, again, very relatable, very compassionate human, and married to a badass as well, Erin, who I actually probably been in more touch with her than you over the years.
Much better than I am.
She's a two-time gold medalist rower.
Yeah.
Amazing woman too. So you're the owner of Power Speed Endurance, or founder of Power Speed Endurance, as well as creative director of Art of Breath.
Yes.
Which I actually attended Art of Breath in LA not too long ago.
Yep.
And I've been to a lot of continuing education courses, physical therapy, and just fitness. It was one of the best I've attended that captured both the mental and physical health components.
Thank you, but the man in the other room is mostly responsible for that.
Rob Wilson.
Yes.
So Rob crushed it presenting.
And there's another man, Danny, who's here, and Kevin, who's not here right now, but there's a team of people that make that, thank you.
Yeah, so your team that's created that is a one-of-a-kind clinic workshop. Because being someone in the physical fitness world and performance world, it's not too often you get to hear about mental health in a clinic.
Yeah.
It's all about performance. There's a lot of ego a lot of times. In the physical therapy world, it's all about pathology. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, but how's that person moving? Right? That's where we're movement specialists. How's that person thinking? How are they coping? You guys touched upon all of those things. So I appreciate that. I'm very excited to dive into some of the nitty-gritties of your life, your transformation, and your work. Are you ready for this?
Where do you want me to start?
Well, there's an icebreaker.
I appreciate the intro too.
You like that?
I do, very much so. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's not easy. like, it's not an easy thing. It never has been, and I don't think it ever will be. Maybe, hopefully not. But it's humbling. But there's like, I can't take credit for things that like. Yeah. But it's although I started this thing, it like what I knew was going to happen is what always, there's an opportunity to create something by yourself, and that'll go somewhere. Mm-hmm. Or you can start to open those doors and start to see who can push the boundaries of what that is, right? And so that's what, this, so.
Well, yeah, so talking about your team, it's a team approach. It's not just one person. That's the book Good to Great. Just finished that. It's what's a level 5 leader? Uh-huh. Someone who creates a team. Yeah. And it's not about them. Yeah. But that's what you put out in the world. Like, it isn't about you. It's about helping others. Yeah. And you very much bring the people up with you that are around you. So I want to start, and that was one of the things that came up this last year too, is when you did have your injury, you kind of alluded to just the hard times you had with business and personal and professional relationships. And I don't talk about the hard times with my personal and professional relationships too much, but I've had a ton of hard times in the last couple of years with people and situations and being underwhelmed and overwhelmed. And I was like, I gotta talk to this guy some more. So through it wasn't a troll on the internet, but through just following. You don't
have to defend. It's all good.
I was able to very much relate to a lot of what you were saying. Good. So you're a very resilient human, and I want to dig into why. Yeah. And one reason is because of your team. Yeah. So, but icebreaker, I want to know what the most hilarious feedback you've seen or gotten from your cold immersion experiences that you all do, and or breath work. Is there anyone that stands out that's like, that is a hilarious response to this, or?
The response is like, hey, could this be used for this, or could this, like? No,
it's when they first get into a cold tank. Yeah. Like what's their response there? I
don't know it's funny to watch people who are not expecting what happens in an ice, like in 32 degree water, like in freezing water. Like if you've never experienced that, it's fun to watch. And
why is it fun?
Because you've never been put in that stressful environment. You don't know what that environment. That's like being under gunfire for the first time, right? Like, oh shit, this is real. Like, I just heard a bullet like go by me. Like, fortunately that's only happened once to me. I'm sure between you two, it's happened several times. But being in the cold, my first experience with that, here's the relatable thing, is I literally sat in a little dungeon with Laird Hamilton, who was sitting in the ice having a conversation with me. And I was watching this, I'm like, oh, so it's no big deal. Like, and I was training with him at the time, and I'm like, I can keep up with him. Like, that's why Laird and I became such good friends, because I was somebody who could push him. Yeah. And we were sitting there, and I was watching him, so I just correlated the fact that if he can sit there and just have a conversation with me, well, I can do that too. And I got in, and within the first 10 seconds, I said to him, how long am I supposed to be in here? And he said, 3 minutes. And I said, fuck, I'm out. And I got out, and I just jumped out. And he just started laughing his ass off. And you could hear him howling, just laughing. And I was like, fuck, and sorry I swear. But,
no, it's okay.
I legitimately was so pissed at my reaction to a new stressor, and I was being exposed, right? And so there was this hole in what was going on, and what I was starting to get, and Laird knew this, and this is how we formulated and developed the beginning of XPT, right? And so I helped him develop that. But by the end of that training session, I sat in that tub for 3 minutes, and it took me 3 tries, like, to get to that 3 minutes. But I did it. But it was a freak show. Like, it was just this guy going, shit, God, But okay, I'm normalizing. Like it's like 2.5 minutes. I'm finally like numb. I'm okay. Like I don't feel pain anymore. You know, like okay, I can get out. I have seen people literally in and out, like just bounce. It's literally like a trampoline. You know, like they get in the water and they're out of the water. Like, and that reaction of like, there's no way I can do this. And that thought process is what is like that really like probably I don't know 5 or 6 years ago that really interested me.
Yeah.
Like that fascinated me. Even though like everything about human performance and helping people and health and all of it really attracted me, that was that kicker. And it wasn't actually breath work. The breath work and all that stuff came like right after that, but that was really, you know.
That's interesting. I can imagine people dip their toe in. I've seen utter fear on people's faces, cold.
Oh, it's funny. You'll tell somebody like, "Hey, so we're gonna get in, and I want your collarbone under your shoulders under the water." And they get in, and their hands are out, and their shoulders are like this, and they're like, and I'm like, "So we need you done." No, I'm all right. Like I'm just not going any deeper.
Yeah.
You know.
So where in your life are you not all right?
Yeah. And that's because we all have that.
Yeah, sure.
Every one of us. No matter how deep and that's basically what that told me.
I like that. I like it. Very real. So okay, awesome. The next thing I have a question for you on is UnScared. What does that mean for you? Why is that your
Do you want to hear the backstory?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Because it came from Kelly.
Okay, I want to hear it.
Okay, so you spend enough time with Kelly that he makes up words and things. Like he has his own vernacular.
Yeah, he's got his own.
Especially in text, like how he spells things and does.
With
things.
hashtags now.
Yes, totally. He and I actually, I think, were the first. We're two of the first people that we know that literally figured out that kind of team thing, to where it was really like, how do we help each other? How do we get, because I remember when he sat in the Stone Clinic and I went there and spent 3 days with him, and I was like, hey, you can't be here. Like, you gotta get out of here. Like,
you did the same thing to me when I was working with Trish.
Of course you did. Like, I literally was like, I'm sorry. Like, you have to share with people what you understand when you're not doing it here. So, like, get out. Like, and I wasn't the only one. Juliet was the big driver of all that, but that was where I learned a lot of this stuff, and that we, I've really worked on, throughout this process. But
UnScared.
Yeah, so the UnScared thing, very interesting. We were at a CrossFit Level 1 dinner, and it was second night dinner, which second night level 1 dinners were invitation only. That got to go to a dinner with Greg and Dave and Nicole and whoever was part of the staff, and we were having a conversation around a table a little bit bigger than this, and Dave was talking about, I was the hot new guy there, so I was the endurance guy, so I was the hot new thing that everybody was like on at the time, and Dave brought up endurance training and how he's like, yeah, it's pretty cool, but like, I don't, I think that, like those cycling guys that wear the arm warmers, they're gay. Like, that's just gay. And Kelly just literally sitting there, perks up, and tilts his head, and he's like, well, Dave Castro, I have a gym that's outside in San Francisco, and I wear arm warmers, and I'm not gay. And Dave just like looked at him, and we all just started laughing, and Kelly goes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a pair of pink arm warmers, and I'm going to write the word UnScared on it, because I'm unscared of you, Dave Castro. And I had a friend who worked. It's weird how it transpired. I had a friend who worked in the apparel industry, and I asked if I could get my hands on some pink arm warmers and put the word UnScared on them.
And you did.
And I did it, and I brought them up to Kelly, and he put them on one day, and we took a picture and put it on the internet and sent it to Dave. And it literally took off like that, and I kind of ran with the word from there.
Yeah.
And I ended up using it as my corporate, like kind of holding company. So UnScared Inc. is that, but the word literally started it metastasized into this we would say because Kelly and I would send each other, even Dave would participate in this back in the day, we would send each other these hellacious workouts to do, and this is like for workouts like the San Francisco Crippler, Newport Crippler came out of, which was like 225 back squat for 30 reps, row 1,000 meters, and then or run a mile, right? And we were just like, what? Like, all right, I'm gonna do this, and it's like, I'm scared, all right, and you don't want to do it. But you've got so the fear layers there. It's like it's just courage. That's all it is.
Sure.
It's just a new word for something that and so it's just that's what we ran with UnScared. It just kept going and going and going, and that was UnScared. And I had quickly tattooed the word UnScared.
Well, your hands are famous on
Tim
Ferriss's little book. His book
promo.
Video promo for Our Body.
For Our Body.
Yeah, so I saw those fingers and I was like, those look so familiar.
Yeah.
And awesome. That's a funny story. It's a very Kelly story too.
Oh yeah. We've been at it for like 12 years.
Yeah.
So it's been
it's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys are a good team and a good friendship that's developed, which is awesome. And like a family.
Yeah.
And that's what the people.
Oh yeah, and like people don't understand. People like it's had its ups and downs.
Sure.
Like total ups and downs. And we've really learned what it's like to be very, very intimate, close friends.
Yeah, that's awesome. You can only count on one hand, if that, those kind of friends.
Oh yeah.
So, well, thank you for sharing that. That's an awesome story. So next we're going to get into kind of the bread and butter, meat and potatoes, gluten-free menu. Bread and butter now. I like bread and butter, but meat and potatoes.
Kelly and I both bake bread. We have a baking competition going.
Do you?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, so we're into bread. Let's do bread.
I think when I was teaching Kelly's certs, he would, I did use some of Kellyisms. So, instead of saying, like, when people needed to tap out, it was like brisket, cinnamon, don't use
safety word.
Yeah, safety words. Don't use anything that has gluten in it.
Yes.
So this last year you underwent, so this is the topic of this whole podcast is my new normal. And we go through new normals in our life all the time.
Yeah.
With friendships, with business, with injuries. You had a major injury happen this last year. And I want to dive into that a little bit with you and ask you what that was like. So if you can tell us about the injury, what happened, but also what that was like in those initial moments of feeling paralyzed, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Go into that.
Easy. So on May 26th, I was up at my sister's in Santa Rosa, which is about 30-40 minutes from where we live now, in San Rafael, and my sister has 4 children, and I was with her three boys, and we were on a jungle gym for kids, and we were playing tag, and it's this weird game of tag where you close your eyes, whatever, and then you start walking around, and you're trying to get guys, and then all of a sudden you count, and when you get to a certain number, you can open your eyes and go after people. And my nephew was doing it, and I was close to him, and he had opened. So I took off running, and I saw a ladder that went up, and it kind of twisted, which is why I'm making the twisting work. I was running up the ladder, climbing it as fast as I could, and there's a gap up top, which any 10-year-old kid or under can fit, and then go across the top plank, right? Which is where the slides and everything were at. I didn't see the bar above that, and I was climbing up going as fast as I could, and I went straight into it with my head, and I immediately caused a spinal contusion with C3-4.
Okay.
And B, knocked myself cold, so I had created a concussion at that point. And I dropped, and I'm pretty sure I broke my leg, but they didn't even look at that because of just what was going on with the spine. But my ass hit the top, the top bar that was below the gap, and and then I did a backflip off and landed on the ground, and I woke up on the ground, and I was just like, there was nothing that was hurting, but I remember going out. Like, I remember this, I've had a stinger before, surfing a couple of times, and I went out, and I woke up, and I was like, oh damn, like fuck, I know I went out, and I looked down, and my legs were literally crossed on the ground. I had one shoe off, and my hands were on my body like that, but I couldn't move anything. And I wasn't breathing. And I was like, the breathing thing was only because of falling and hitting the ground. You know, you fall and hit the ground, and all of a sudden you can't breathe.
Did you fall on your back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, directly on my back. Onto soft, like, artificial grass, but nonetheless, I was 8 feet up.
Yeah.
So it was a good fall, and I'm sure there were other things that occurred, but, you know, not too bad. Well, I was paralyzed. So I was paralyzed, and I could not move, and I literally had to force myself to breathe, but I instantly, based on the work that I've been doing over the last 6 years, knew that there were things I could do in that moment that could change the outcome of that long term.
And what were those?
It was to control my breathing, not open my mouth, like just slow it down. Don't let it get out of control. Don't freak out, start yelling and screaming. Ask my nephews, don't yell at them, like ask them to get my wife, who was on her way over, and with my sister and her youngest daughter. It was probably in the first couple minutes I understood what happened. I was like, I definitely felt sorry for myself. I felt like, I was like, shit. But for some reason, I don't know what it is, I was able to go, okay, I'm paralyzed, there's a new game. And it was like, what else is there? Like, there is nothing else. Like, I can, like, Aaron's going to be affected, my family's going to be affected. How do I minimize that? How do I minimize that thing? And which inevitably is just me minimizing me. Like, minimizing my damage to what's going on. And that was what I was literally looking at and trying to manage and trying to be in control with. And, you know, within 5 minutes, well, not 5, probably about 10, you know, there was some firefighters that were literally down the street at a fire station. They had gotten there pretty quick. They were there within 10 minutes. And I started getting tingling and neurogenic pain in my hands. So I was like, okay, maybe it's not as bad as I thought. Nonetheless, I had nothing in my legs. Like, you know, I was like, you know, I didn't start going, oh, my legs are going to come back. I was like, okay, I'm getting something in my hands. Like, something's coming. Okay, maybe this was like a stinger. Like, but no. You hit your head and you went out and came down. Like, this isn't that easy. And so I got on the gurney. They got me on the gurney. They were asking questions. They were doing stuff. My hands started coming back, tingling. I started to be able to hold. Like, I could. By the time we got to the hospital, I could just squeeze his hand. And on the way, after they had cut all my clothes off, and the guy apologized to me extensively, I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, you know. He's like, I'm not going to guarantee this, but I think you're going to be okay, dude. Like, I just, you know, I just have a feeling, like, based on what we're seeing and what's recovering, I think you might be okay. You know, but don't take my word for it. Like, I just want to give you some.
Don't sue me.
I'm like, it's okay. It's okay, dude. I'm like, I get it. Thank you. They rushed me in. I did the ER thing. It took about 30 hours or so, and I got my legs back. But you know, the long haul of this was I sat in an ER, not able to move my legs and not knowing what was going on. I had a room, and my wife sleeping on the floor through the night, and you know, people coming in, me going and doing tests, and then coming back and not being able to move, and just dealing with what, like, I was inevitably going to be this new life. And I was like, fuck, this is going to be a haul. Like, but, like, I can't feel sorry for myself. Like, I just can't do that. Like, I can have empathy for myself, but I don't need sympathy. And that was my goal. Like, that was the thing at the time. And, you know, we had healthcare our health insurance was through Stanford Medicine because of Aaron's job. And we were up at a hospital in Santa Rosa that definitely I didn't, it wasn't that I didn't want to be at that hospital. I wanted to get down to Stanford Medicine, and I'm fairly well connected inside the Stanford environment to find surgeons.
Yeah.
They've got some of the best in the world. So I was like, hey, I'd like to get down there. And they're like, well, the only way you're getting out of here is when you can actually walk well enough. And so that took like 40 something hours or something.
Yeah.
But I was walking like Bambi on ice, like literally, and like it all started to come back. But long story short, here we are, January like 18th. May 26th, I still have numbness and cold through my legs. So the contusion left its mark.
Yeah.
It probably won't be permanent, but
it's still there.
It's still there.
Okay.
Yeah. Like but it was this spinal cord is not. It takes eons. For that to heal. It's not like a cut. It's not like your skin. And so you just understanding that stuff is like part, like it doesn't, like if I sit there and think about it, it really bothers me. But if I don't, like if I'm just like, oh no, whatever, it's just my cold, it's just my cold feet that feel cold, but yet, they're warm. Like.
So I think like just listening to you and some of the other individuals I've interviewed who I find like extremely resilient, it's very fascinating in that moment of fear, someone's worst nightmare, right, laying there. You were able to completely switch your mind over to, okay, how can I minimize this to affect my family as much as I want to make sure that I need to control my breathing to help my cause. So how can I help my family deal with this? Like, that's a very powerful thing. Suffering comes when people just only focus on themselves and woe is me. And in those moments, I mean, that's sometimes just the way it is. It's fear. But you being able to instantly turn that and realize, all right, new game, how am I going to be the best in this game? Right away is really incredible. But so kind of let's backlog to like what you've done in your life, maybe the key things that helped you have a mindset like that. Because it didn't just come overnight. Like it's you developing the community, the team, the expertise. Like you've obviously dealt with struggle before.
Yeah.
So maybe a few things.
I mean, I've had catastrophic business stuff happen. I mean, completely, like hardcore. Business partners doing very, very bad things, destroying businesses. With them. And then, I early on in my, I think a lot of my world has focused on, if I really look back in the last like 20 years, a lot of it, it's not, I hate using the words self-help, but I've done extensive work with finding people who either mentor me or I can get close to, or I'm paying as a therapist to dig inside of what I'm doing and what the behavior is and why I'm feeling the way I am. And it's literally like, I mean, there's stuff that I figured out after the accident as to what the reality of why I behave the way I do from childhood and things I thought I nailed, right?
Yeah.
Like, but the reality was it was like my relationship with my father, even though it's not a bad relationship. It is a relationship where I have these walls set up that I have triggers on, and it creates a behavioral pattern that I don't like in myself, but it's the same behavioral pattern that I see in him that drives me nuts, and that I see in other people that drives me, and it's like, that's why that drives me nuts. And so it's like, how do I get to the root of that? And it's like, well, you got to forgive your father for using the only tools that he had.
Yep.
And B, like, set that straight, set that right. And so I did that, I've done that, but I've done that shit before. Like I had to do this stuff, like I had to sober up at one point. Like I was terrible. Like, I mean, I got booted out of the Navy when Clinton was in power, for being a drunk.
Didn't even know you're in the Navy.
Yes, I know. I don't talk that much, but like
okay.
I got a medical discharge, but nonetheless, Clinton was shutting down bases left and right, and Brian Mackenzie, was not. I got all this special treatment as a result of what it was that I had done, and it just wasn't a place. After about 5-6 years, I was and my experiences, and this even works into my career, in learning, getting into endurance sports and testing things very differently. And I did it this way, but you can do it this way too. And but there was an identity in it. I needed to be an ultra runner. I needed to be an endurance athlete. Oh, I became the running coach, the endurance guy.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of the breathing guy, which it's not. But these are things that I've created, and there's an identity that occurs in all of this stuff, all of it, especially in injury.
Yeah.
Here's my identity. Here's my new identity of I'm paralyzed.
Yeah.
If that's your story, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You are fucked.
Yeah.
And that was what I understood. And I understood that the moment I identified as an alcoholic, that I was fucked.
Right.
When I became an alcoholic was when I sobered up.
Right.
That was an identity. So I moved closer to something that I was trying to get away from, and never really looked at the depth of what was going on, even though I had been through many 12 steps. Like I had been through the 12 steps probably a dozen times, and many amends and walked through things, and there's nothing wrong with any of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's just my level of honesty and getting to the depths of things and what my story was. And I've had unbelievable experiences, not only through that, but through therapy with other therapists, through mentorship with people. But it really wasn't until something like this accident to where I really connected what I think is the real thing. And that thing is it's getting to know who you are.
Yeah.
On the most fundamental layer. Why do I behave the way I do? Regardless of good or bad. Why do I do that? What am I doing this for? What are my goals? What do I want to achieve?
You're more than an injury. You're more than an alcoholic. You're more than just what your body looks like too.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not just an endurance. I'm married to my wife. Why is it I let this shit drive me nuts about her? What is it about that? Why does that drive me nuts?
Yeah.
What is it about? Why am I pointing at her about this?
Right.
It's me. Or my relationship with this person or whoever that is. Why do I let social media bother me? Why do I care what somebody says about that? This isn't even real. This is an illusion. This is something we're agreeing is reality that actually isn't reality.
Right.
It's just a picture that we're writing words under that we're agreeing was a moment in time, and I've got this life that looks so beautiful.
I know, yeah.
And look, this is this thing that I don't want to participate like that anymore. I don't. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't participate in it in that manner, because you should do what makes you feel great.
Yes.
But if it's not actually getting you to understanding who you are, you better change some shit.
Yeah. Well, so you had a lot in there that I can very much relate to too. I mean, I haven't gone through a spinal cord injury. I've interviewed many who have, and they've been game changers for people. And the most resilient ones were able to turn quickly and just say, how can I help others? But you've done a deep dive, it sounds like a lot of your life, into finding out who you are and understanding why you behave the way you do. And I've also been on that journey and still am. The relationship with my husband, the relationship with my child. I've been in therapy. I'm proud to say it. Just to understand how to be a better wife, get to know myself better, can be able to understand how distorted my thoughts can be, and be able to quickly let those go and focus on what's real. So it's been quite a journey. I didn't have alcohol. I didn't abuse alcohol, but I've abused food. Right? Restricted food.
Same.
I've used, it's the same.
I can show you endurance athletes and CrossFit athletes that are just as fucked up as,
it's a spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, but through that, it's led me down a path of, I mean, my whole Marine Corps career was based on how can I please my father and my brothers, who were badasses in my book. Like, they were up here.
Yeah.
Chianti, our videographer, is a Marine. Like, I worked with some amazing people, and yet the Marine Corps was like, it didn't give me the freedom. I mean, I was a good leader, but I got out because I had an eating disorder, and I tried to please everyone else and take care of everyone else than myself. It was the first time in my life I was faced with people saying they were disappointed in me and saying you failed, and looking at myself like thinking, who am I anymore? If I'm not a Marine, who am I? If I'm not a badass athlete, who am I? That was a really hard look in the mirror, and that kind of started my rebuilding of, okay, this path of self-discovery, and like, I'm not a bulimic. I'm someone who struggled with food, but like, there's so much more to me than that. There's so much more to me than being a pitcher. There's so much more to me than being a Marine. Like, what got me there in the first place? And what do I want to do now? And what I wanted to do now is not what my father wanted or my brothers, but me. It took a few years to figure that out.
Yeah.
A few years of just like feeling alone, feeling like not understanding my thoughts still, working with therapists who were, you need to love yourself more. You need to be gentle. Like,
I've been there.
thank you. What does that look like?
Yeah.
You know? But you know, I've sought out the right therapies too. Like, I've found through trial and error just people who've really helped me build up understanding of who I am and give me the tools. So, but there's nothing like what you just experienced. It also, I think very powerful to say in those moments, like, all the work you've done helped you turn around very quickly and take the light off you. How can you minimize this? Be the best you can be in this new normal and help others.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of training.
Yes, thank you. But that's the reality of like
all this stuff.
What am I fucking training for?
Yeah.
To win something?
Right.
What's that like? Like, I can show you. Like, I got a lot of people around me who win things, then like literally are like, now what? Yeah, because it is a now what. Like, that's the reality of it. And if you're not thinking about now what, or what comes after you close a deal, like, take winning out of it. All right, close a deal. You become a millionaire. Now what? Great. Like, okay, you just got some big job. You became the CEO. Now what? What? Like, who are you? Like, and the people that have attracted me the most aren't, like, sure, we could say we're some of the more successful, but it's not like, what are we using as the variable for that? And I think that's somebody who's a leader, who's leading a lot of people, who is surrounded by, like, who has really, really intimate relationships, and is helping other people do things. And that was is it weird that my entire career is based on helping people, and then like all of this stuff happens to me, and like put it to use, dude. Like, this is where it fits in. Like,
you also, though, I mean, with those things, you also are, part of leadership is you're leading yourself first. Like, you're taking care of yourself. You're doing the things.
It's you and I both know when we don't do that. And look, I mean, everybody's an addict. Everybody. There is nobody who's not an addict. This is the big surprise. There is nobody that exists that does not have addictive behavior. It's just those who actually recognize where it's at when it becomes destructive. And by the way, some people don't use alcohol or food or drugs, but they sure as shit use exercise or their phone and getting on the Instagram. Like, it's all there. Like, and like, it's just like most things we do today are designed to keep us addicted. And so it's the ability to understand that so that you can see who you are as a person and be like, oh, okay, like I shouldn't be playing this game like this. Like I shouldn't be pretending I've got this great life, or I don't need to take my shirt off and flex and show my whatever. Like I don't need to do that. That's not for me. That's just not my world. But I don't take that as like, hey, you can't go do that and show me your butt and your sexy abs and what it's like to be half nude, and that there is a world that exists for that. That's not my world. That's just not my world. When I was in my 20s, that was probably my world. And maybe you're a little earlier than that too, but it was fun. But I understand what age group that fits into for me, and that's not the maturity level I'm at. So those types of followers don't follow me. So I don't need those people. I don't need that thing. So the people that actually are following me are going to have some depth to them, or they're just going to be like, fuck, I can't follow this guy. This is just too, and which is great.
Sure, weeds people out. You're irreverent, but you're real. It's not very often you meet someone you see on the internet seems to say some really good shit, and then they're actually a really cool person.
But I really want to differentiate the fact that just because I'm doing that doesn't mean that the girl or guy who's half nude in the bathroom shot, whatever, doesn't have a purpose.
Of course.
That has its place, and you go do that. That's just not for me.
So, but that's a powerful place to be. I've also teach their own. My father, it's instead of comparing yourself to other people, there's a lot of people out there on the internet, through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. People are saying all kinds of things, and if you literally sit there and get angry about it, I have some colleagues, some really good friends who do those things, and I catch myself thinking you want to be respected, okay, but then I go down this rabbit hole that teach their own. I'm on a path, and what they do is what they do. I don't choose to do that with the message I put out there. I'd rather actually not focus on myself, but the people I'm around. Does that really get you a lot of exposure? People love selfies, but I'm not a selfie queen. That's okay. If people are, good on them. I just attract a different person, client. What I really respect about you and people like you is just the intense focus on taking care of yourself, which isn't selfish, so you can better take care of others, and really knowing yourself and being completely raw about the things you go through. Because what that does is it gives other people permission to do the same if they're smart. Right? If they actually found that through you probably found this through writing a book, found it through writing a memoir. People come out of the woodwork. Special operators, infantry men telling me I had eating disorders and exercise addiction. And it's wow, I never expected. I was really actually still embarrassed when I wrote the story.
That's awesome.
But then I realized, fuck being embarrassed.
That's so rad.
This is me.
And
this is why I am on the mission I am, and I gained so much knowledge about who I am through that process. So it's nice to hear you say those things, but also live it.
Well, you're also not doing this because this is where I think that there's some real. This is where it really separates good work. Is you're not doing this, but through try. You're doing this through being. I'm not trying to impress or do. I'm putting this out here as a real thing, what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it, and I'm driven and I'm doing this. I don't care how this goes. Rob is super, and he's gotten me into this whole thing of the anti-fragile thing. And I'm telling you, literally this entire trip, we have, in 2 days, we have, we're having conversations about what certain people are doing. We're just that's so fragile. It's such a fragile world to live in. You're creating such a fragility to something versus this, you're not moving toward this anti-fragile thing. Like, if you don't go and get to know yourself, you are creating nothing but this glass that is going to shatter.
Yeah.
And it's empty, and it's so easy to, like, that falls off, it's going to break.
Yeah.
You're going to break in 1,000 pieces. That's like, and the easiest explanation I think you can do with that is you look at somebody like a special, like an elite level athlete. They're a specialist. They're specialized. Like Aaron specialized in rowing. Like, you want real specialization? Go look at a Tour de France cyclist. They can't do anything. They're not supposed to do anything outside of riding a bicycle for training, for getting ready for the Tour de France. Because they're not allowed to walk upstairs. They have to take elevators. Like, any extra work or thing that could jeopardize what happens to them as an athlete, they're going to shatter like glass. They will break.
Yes.
That is the world we're moving towards. That is literally the world we've created. That is social media. That is what it is. And if we don't actually start to recognize this, if you don't come to terms with this, you are just going to end up as a fragile thing that shatters and takes the opinions of people who don't even exist, who don't step into the arena, who will never play.
Right.
Yeah. Like, as though those words mean something, and they mean nothing. They mean nothing.
Right. It's, my husband, so he played big football guy. Some of the, like, he's not like active on social media, but he follows ESPN. So he's like, oh, did you know such and such quarterback or lineman, like, quit because someone, wrote poor things about them on Twitter. And I was like, what? I mean, that's the media too, but these young millennial athletes, they're just like, they're struggling with self-esteem.
Yeah, because this is the world they're growing up in. We didn't grow up in that world, right? Like, that wasn't, I didn't have the internet when I was a kid. Like, I didn't have it until, like, out of high school. Like, so, I really didn't have it. It was a dial-up thing that was like, and like, you didn't even want to go on it because it was such a cumbersome fucking thing to do. So,
I remember the flip phone and texting it when I was at Villanova.
Yeah, I literally make fun of Larry Hamilton because he still has the .com.
That's awesome. Well, so tell me, I want to go, continuing on, because there's so much good stuff here. In terms of the things physically, so like mental health wise, we talked actually a lot about mental health here. I've learned tactics of helping control my thinking, my mindset through the body. And just the work I do with veterans, so post-traumatic stress. There's a lot of hard evidence on moving, breath work, all that stuff in helping the mind. So most of my training, I don't train for like the aesthetics. I train for, this is going to improve my mood today. This is going to be, I'm going to be a stronger person mentally by doing this. But for you, in terms of the things in your recovery, I kind of want to know, what are the things that you do a lot of research in human performance around power, speed, and endurance, hence the name of the company. What were the things that helped you in your recovery? Because I wonder, like, did you get any bad advice or good advice from a medical doctor, or did you work with a PT, or did you just kind of go it on your own?
Oh, okay. No, I mean, I've got
many.
My PT is my closest friend.
Yes.
Who lives 3 miles from me. But here's what he does. Hey, you know what to do. And he gave me, there's a couple things that he did, but that's like, my neck is fine. My range of motion, like, my neck's not fine. Like, there's my range of motion.
Yeah.
Like, and then, like, even Rob was like, oh, your neck's still fucked up. I'm like, bro, my neck's fused. Like, I am missing range of, like, I'm missing, I'm gonna have to articulate through the rest of the spine.
It's gonna have to compensate.
Exactly. I'm going to need to compensate to some degree because I lost some of that rotation, but that's like, I could work on it more, and I do to some degree. But I really have used a lot of stuff, a lot of things, and some of it's tech based. Like, I use an EEG platform where I do brain training a couple times a week. I use this program from a guy. his name's Dr. Andrew Hill. He's actually in LA, and he created Peak Brain Institute. And we basically, it's simple training. There's just sounds that are happening, and I can go about whatever it is I'm doing. And typically what I'm doing is I'm in front of, if it's in the winter, I'm in front of a full spectrum light panel, and I'm doing breath work, and it's the morning time. And that, so we know and understand, like subjectively we've understood this, and this has been like kind of something that's been talked about for like 10,000 years, that, you know, the mind is the king of the senses, the breath is the king of the mind. Like that's a BKS Iyengar like quote, right? And something that is very profound if you actually sit there and think about that. And the simplicity of that is this: everything like that's behind this skull, like everything else is working for it. Everything.
Yep.
This is all that needs to survive. This is what wants to survive. This is also what wants to understand what's going on outside the world. So I've got vision. You know, I've got my visual system. I've got my smelling. I've got my communication. I can touch. I can feel. Right? Like I've got all these senses. I've got, you know, like my skin is the largest organ I've got, and it senses everything. Right? Well, your skin. You know, what we're finding out is the skin actually picks up things just as quickly. Like it's literally one of the. It's like they think it's the first responder to a lot of things, but the point of this is understanding that I've got things that are telling this thing what's going on, but the number one goal of the body is respiration. That's what's keeping me alive. It's the first thing we do on exit from birth, and it's the last thing we do in life. Like literally, this is the finale.
Right.
It's done. Like regardless of where that is or at, right? So the number one goal of the body is to breathe. Why? Well, it controls everything. It controls basically my energy. It controls what my brain's doing. We now know, like literally, we put out an article the other day on neuroscientists have figured out that there is literally a way to learn and do things within the brain through respiration. Like this is actually factual stuff that's coming up, and we understood this, and you know, but now we're getting factual, you know, scientific data on it, and that that's why my play has always been like, or not always, but since I came in contact with breath work, it affected me so profoundly that I had to start talking and sharing about it. Like I forced Erin to go through some stuff she didn't want to do. Like, but I'm like, I want you to test this. Like, I want you to do this. Like, I didn't force her. But, you know, I really pushed her, and she did it. And she didn't enjoy some of it. You know, and she was honest about it. And I was like, oh, and that helped trigger some stuff for me to start to understand breath work a lot more. Yeah. And, you know, knowledge of breath work and specific practices is great, but what are you actually learning from the breath work? Yeah. And that's what's critical, you know, because learning is greater than knowledge. Yeah. And I want to learn how I actually make it so that thing behind my head, which is basically just picking up illusions, that's outside the head. We're agreeing on all these illusions, like to a large degree. And that, how do I set it so that I'm actually in a realistic play for myself, so that I'm not going to the things that make me want to go use food or alcohol or exercise in a manner that deters me from actually understanding me. Yeah. That's what I want to do. And so I'm going to use everything I can in order to do that. And, you know, breath work has been the biggest player in it. But, you know, doing some of the brain training. But I also will do writing. Like literally I won't, you know, without the brain training, I'm doing writing where I'm writing about things, journaling about things, or getting my thoughts out. Like my current therapist, I guess you could call her, you know, here's a shocker. Like I am not religious at all. My sister is very religious, but I am literally working with a preacher. She's a female preacher, and she is hard fucking core. And she has been instrumental in how she's been able to get me into digging into who I am as a person and why I'm behaving the way I am. and nobody's really been able to dig to that level, like, or get me to dig to that level to where I'm just straight up on it. Like, I'm so honest about shit now.
Yeah.
And that's been a part of this process, and it's changed not only my relationship with myself, but like my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my parents, like my ability to call up my father and tell him, hey, I'm sorry that we haven't had the relationship that maybe you've wanted, or that you don't feel like sometimes you can come over or call me when you're up in town.
Yeah.
I want you to know that even if you don't want to come over, you don't have to, but you have the option to come to my home and be whoever it is you want to be. And he was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, dude, what is that? And it's like, I have the power to do that if I want that. Like, and that's what I want.
Yep.
And I want those conversations. I want that truth. I want that ability to move through things. And the only way to do that is to be real with who you are and stop pitying yourself, regardless of the situation you're in.
Yeah.
Stephen fucking Hawking, if he can do it, anybody, like, come on. Like, what? Like, come on.
Yeah.
That dude changed the landscape of what we all do. And even if you don't know who he is, like, you think differently because of that man.
Yeah.
And yet he couldn't do anything. Like, he literally had to work off of facial expression or eye movements in order to create words that people were so enamored with him and did. And for a physicist, and what he did was just amazing. And it took me 20 years to actually read one of his most profound works, which was A Brief History of Time. And it took me 20 years to be able to read that thing, but when I finally got it, I was like, oh my God, like, I now kind of understand what black holes are. And what but that all fits into what I do right now.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately. And how I look at things and how I'm able to explain to people why breathwork's important, or where iron comes from and how it began. And, you know, the iron atom inside of us is almost infinitely old. So that means our actual bodies part of our bodies are infinite. Like, we're going to go on. Mm-hmm. Other parts of us go on, regardless of what your belief system is. There is an atoms plural, that will move on infinitely into space and matter and energy. And that has to do with, that iron atom has something to do with holding hemoglobin and oxygen to it. Mm-hmm. And we need carbon dioxide in order to make that. Like, all of these things play a role in what it is I do, and I get to go teach, and I get to learn, and that's all I'm doing, is sharing what it is I'm learning.
Well, in taking the course, that's just a small example of the team. Like, I wasn't expecting, like I said, the mental component to it. I was expecting it to be performance-based. Mm-hmm. But all of the things that, I got a lot of depth from it, and I was like, okay, I'm on a path too. I'm on this path. Like, I wasn't expecting this, and this is being taught. Like, these are what therapists taught me. Mm-hmm. Like, specific ones I've sought out. But yeah, I can attest to it. I talked about it in my book, the power of breath work, and like the feel, and not any particular.
Right now, will take human performance to that layer of that people just aren't willing to go to right now, and it's going to come in a way that's not going to be the way it's always, that people are like, that's too hippy-dippy for me, or that's just too much. It's going to be a reality check, and we'll do it through such simple things that expose what's going on to somebody that they will want. It's just like, hey, here's the reality of where this is, like, and what you're doing physically right now, what you are doing and trying to accomplish. You are saying one thing but doing another.
Yeah,
and that's what this looks like.
Yeah.
And so you can go and bust ass as much as you want in that room and try and do that. Or you can look at the reality of your own physiology and what's going on behind the shield, behind this wall, and come to terms with that and change what's going on and work within the construct of your own biology and start to be able to really grasp who you are and why you're doing what you're doing.
Yep. So those are questions it takes a lifetime to ask themselves. I mean, in the world, I work in the corporate America.
Yeah.
I go in and bring programs, and it's amazing how out of touch people are.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's the power of your message
in your all's message is the fact that you're coming from a place of empathy. I think, from my perspective, it's you're not setting it up there. Yes, you're a very accomplished human, but you have a story of you. Those accomplishments have come with struggle too, and telling your story of that struggle really makes you very relatable. And I think for the people that listen to this, that's what they need to make a change. It's not like you're motivating them for the moment to kick ass on their next Ironman or whatever they're doing.
Anybody can go do an Ironman. Anybody can go run 100 miles. Anybody can go do a CrossFit workout. Anybody can go do any of that stuff. What not everybody's doing is that.
Yeah. You know? Look in the mirror. I interviewed a guy. I want to wrap up with a couple more things, but this guy, you'd appreciate this interview I had, an individual I met at an event. He may or may not have the gene for early onset dementia or Alzheimer's. So his whole side of his dad's family, a lot of them have had this gene, and no matter what, based on the research, no matter what he does, people that have been researched with this gene, like whether you eat keto or train or do brain games, it doesn't really solve the early, you're gonna get it. If you have the gene, you're gonna get it. So he's a 40-year-old man. He's got 2 kids, a wife, and in 7 years, potentially to 10, he may have early onset dementia. So kind of like the living dead, right? You're dying while living, like your mind is going. But the interview is really powerful in a sense of how are you living right now? Like, I could die tomorrow. I could die in 10 years. I could die whenever, but who matters to me? Like, really ask yourself, who in your life matters? What matters to you? And why does it matter? Like, really get close on what those things are. And in the end, it was like a kind of a tearful conversation, but he was just like, my life is amazing because I know, I don't know if I have a gene or not, but I don't want that to be my determining factor to make my life awesome. I'm making it awesome right now. I'm getting to know myself. And I was like, so what's your social handle? He's like, I don't do social media. I got no time for that. I got kids and a family to focus on. And so it was a really heartfelt conversation. But more and more, I think of, okay, like, who knows in our life? We're going to die. You never know when you're going to die. You never know what can happen, right? You're playing with your nephews one day.
You are guaranteed.
You're guaranteed to die.
You are guaranteed.
Yeah.
That is the one guarantee.
We are immortal.
Like,
We're immortal.
James Baldwin was probably one of the most profound. Yeah. But the thing is like Rob's talked about this too. I'm gonna steal this from him in a second, but it's actually pretty damn good. Which a lot of Robisms are.
Yes.
James Baldwin is probably one of the most profound writers of our time. He was way, way ahead of his time, and he talks about just the irony in the fact that we are going to die and we all know it, but we play around as if it's just not a reality.
Yeah.
And yet the people who are making the most money currently, to a large degree, is in this world called the tech world, who are trying to figure out how they can live longer or live forever.
Yeah.
Like these men and some women. But it's largely men, which is weird. Not really.
No, I was going to say not really.
Who want to figure out how they can live as long as they possibly can. And Rob said it, but I totally agree with him in that there's something wrong with somebody who's that afraid of dying. There's something inherently wrong, and if you're looking to somebody like that for advice, or for inspiration, or for what they're doing, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And we know that the world's got problems and whatever, and money, fame, power, and all that stuff. Like, that comes at a cost. Those are just magnifying glasses to it all. And that's the reality, is you've got a lot of these people who want to try and figure out how I can save some of my blood, or freeze my brain when I'm dead and so it can bring me back. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why don't you want to just ride the process,
Right
whatever that
right
process is. Like, why can't you live like
Right
what
now.
is it that's go? That's all that exists anyway. Is right now. Everything else is an illusion.
Yeah.
Like, I've said illusion plenty of times. But that's literally what we live off of.
This is all an illusion.
Like, pretty much. I mean,
Yeah.
to a large
Well,
degree.
my reality is my reality. Yours
Yes.
is yours.
They're subjective experiences. Yes, but we are all energy.
Yeah.
Vibrating.
Well, I agree. So the whole death thing, I've had a lot of people die in my life, and
Yeah.
time, you can't fucking waste time.
No.
And I had a friend who I interviewed, stage 4 breast cancer, 2 children. She knows she's gonna die. And she was like, Teresa, why? How has time? Because she called me because she was like, you lost your mom when you were 10. I'm going to die when my children are about the age that you lost your mom. What helped you? What helped you? And what did your mom do that helped you grieve her but just enjoy her in her last, while you had her? It's like time. Like, honestly, you can't pay that back, and you will never regret the time you tell someone you love them, or spend the time with those loved ones, or even like your dad, telling him you love him, because you don't know if you're gonna lose him tomorrow. And that was really helpful for her. She's like super powerful professor, resilience, Marine, and it was like it caused her to slow down.
Yeah.
So you can't take that time.
Laying on the ground paralyzed, I didn't think about how much money. I didn't think about how much power. I didn't think about how many Instagram followers I had.
Yeah.
That didn't cross my mind.
Yeah.
It just didn't cross my mind.
Yeah.
Which probably means it's probably not that important.
Yep. Thank you, Brian. I think that's a good ending here. This was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. All right.